The baton came down a third time. The sound shattered the quiet street glass, plastic, and arrogance breaking all at once. "People like you," the white officer growled, "only know how to drive junk and tell lies." The black woman stood there. She didn't resist. She didn't scream. She simply remembered every word, every second. What Officer Barnes didn't know was that she would soon sit on the highest bench in the courthouse deciding his future. And this time, justice wasn't blind. 7:24 a.m. West Jacksonville, Florida. The sky was clear. The sun was gentle, and the air smelled faintly of freshly cut grass. Judge Monica DeWitt, 52, was driving her silver gray 2013 sedan toward the Duval County Courthouse. As always, she wore a dark blue suit jacket, high-collared blouse, and a small justice scale pin over her heart, a gift from her late son. Her black judicial robe was folded neatly in the back seat. To her, it wasn't just a tire. It was a responsibility. The car rolled steadily through the quiet neighborhood. Everything felt calm until she noticed flashing red and blue lights in her rearview mirror. She pulled over, shut off the engine, rolled down her window, and placed both hands calmly on the steering wheel, instinct refined from years of surviving in a world where her skin color always made people assume something. The officer approached, tall, built, uniform stretched over bulging arms, face twisted in mild annoyance. Name tag Kyle Barnes. "Morning," Monica said gently. "Is there a problem?" "Officer, this your vehicle?" he asked flatly, eyes scanning the car with obvious disdain from hood to heels. "Yes, my name is Monica DeWitt, plate number 4JD962. I have the registration papers here," Barnes scoffed, refusing the documents. "Old car like this, driving through this neighborhood, doesn't quite add up. You live here, is there a problem?" "Officer," her voice remained calm, but her eyes sharpened. "You carrying any weapons, drugs, contraband?" "No," Monica replied firmly. "And I don't understand what makes you think I would be." Barnes curled his lip into a smirk. "Because you're driving suspiciously. Suspicious I was going 30 in a 35. If anything, that's under the limit." "Exactly. People only drive that slow if they've got something to hide." He leaned closer. "You nervous around me?" "No. I have nothing to be afraid of." She calmly retrieved her license, registration, and insurance from her wallet. Barnes took the documents and looked at the name. "DeWitt? Huh, sounds kinda fancy." He said it with a sneer, then turned and walked back to his squad car. Monica inhaled deeply. She recognized this tactic, blatant racial profiling. No effort to hide it. A few minutes passed. Then he returned with a slip in hand. "Here's your citation. Violation, unsafe speed for conditions." And he bent down, inspecting her car's rear. "Your left tail light's cracked." "That's another fine." Monica opened her mouth to explain that the repair was already scheduled for Wednesday, and that the damage didn't affect vehicle safety. But before she could speak, Barnes suddenly reached down and pulled out his baton. "Wait!" Monica gasped. Whack! The metal baton slammed into the taillight. Plastic splintered. Whack! The other taillight shattered completely, and then a third blow harder than the first two, as if he were pounding on a cymbal he couldn't control. She stood frozen, not out of fear, but at the sheer, brazen humiliation. In that moment, she wasn't a county judge. She was just another black woman facing a man drunk on power, a man who believed, or hoped, no one would hold him accountable. Barnes strode forward and tossed the citation toward her. Busted lights. Questionable paperwork. Suspicious driving. I've got plenty of cause. He peered inside the car. What's that back there? Huh? Halloween costume. Monica didn't flinch. She met his eyes and said calmly, Officer Barnes, you just committed willful property damage. Under Florida law, that's a misdemeanor offense. I can cite the statute for you if you'd like. He laughed. Oh, you read law? Huh. Don't get too excited, doesn't make you a lawyer or anything. She didn't argue. Instead, she pulled out her phone. Duval County Courthouse. This is Judge Monica DeWitt. I'll be late this morning. Officer Kyle Barnes has just vandalized my vehicle and issued a falsified citation. Please initiate immediate verification. There was silence on the line. Then a woman's voice. clipped and firm. "Your Honor, please stay where you are. We're notifying the Chief Judge and the Department of Internal Affairs now. We're en route." Behind her, Barnes was still standing, but now his face had gone pale. What he thought he could do in silence was now echoing through the highest offices in the state, all from a single phone call. And the black robe in the back seat. It wasn't a costume. It was evidence of a mistake he'd never be able to erase. Kyle Barnes stood frozen for a few seconds, eyes darting. He glanced at the phone in Judge Monica DeWitt's hand, then quickly scanned the area as if hoping no one had heard, no one had recorded. But reality had already closed in. A middle-aged woman across the street had been filming for minutes. A delivery driver captured everything from his parking spot, and a home security camera nearby pointed directly at the scene. With one uncontrolled swing of his baton, Barnes didn't just damage a vehicle, he wrote his own indictment. Monica lowered her phone. No more words were necessary. She looked at him, not with anger, but with that cold, quiet disappointment only those who've been disrespected too many times in life know how to wield. "I don't need you to believe who I am," she said. "I just need you to understand today. You dragged all of this into the light." Barnes tried to keep his composure, but his lip twitched. "I followed procedure," he muttered robotically. "She was driving suspiciously. I'm allowed to issue a citation." "The taillight was probably already broken. The cameras will make that clear," Monica replied. 7 minutes later, a black SUV with the Duval County Courthouse emblem came speeding to the scene. Inside were Chief Judge Deborah Miles and the courthouse's head of security. Monica walked over and opened the door. "Good morning, Your Honor," she said calmly. "I called regarding an incident that occurred here." Deborah looked from Monica to Barnes, her tone firm. "We received the live feed from dispatch. What happened here is absolutely unacceptable." Barnes said nothing now. He stood beside his patrol car, hands on hips, face flushed. "Name the chief of security," asked. "Kyle Barnes," he said stiffly. "You are being formally reported for willful destruction of property, abuse of authority, and possible racial bias during a traffic stop. You have the right to remain silent and the right to legal counsel. I was just following. You should remain silent." The officer interrupted. "Everything is being recorded." Monica didn't stay to watch what came next. She stepped into the SUV and gently closed the door. As it pulled away, she didn't look back, because she knew his trembling wasn't from her title. It was from the realization that justice wears many faces. And this time, it wore a blazer, a justice scale pin, drove an old car, and knew exactly how to hold the guilty accountable. Later that afternoon, Office of the Florida Department of Justice. Monica DeWitt filed an official complaint, complete with evidence, video footage from multiple civilians, photos of the smashed vehicle, audio recordings of the call to courthouse dispatch, a damage report from a certified garage. The proposed charges: willful destruction of private property, abuse of authority during a traffic stop, violation of civil rights under color of law. Media headlines erupted: "Breaking Black. Judge's vehicle smashed by officer during traffic stop in Jacksonville. Racial profiling or abuse of power. Community demands answers after taillight incident. Barnes v. DeWitt. When law meets the bench." Public response was swift and clear. Civil rights groups issued statements of support. The incident video surpassed 1 million views within 36 hours. Hundreds of emails flooded the courthouse demanding an independent investigation. A new hashtag trended on Twitter: "Justice for Judge DeWitt." Monica made no public statement. She posted nothing. She gave no interviews. She remained at her desk, reviewing case files, her eyes untired, her focus sharp as steel. She once said during an oath ceremony, "No one stands above the law, not even those in uniform, especially when they forget why they wear it." 48 hours after the incident, inside the conference room of the Florida State Department of Justice, an internal investigation was officially opened. But this time, it wasn't just about one officer. It was about the entire system that had enabled this behavior to persist far too long. And the name Kyle Barnes. It wasn't unfamiliar. A background check revealed 6 prior civil complaints filed against Officer Barnes in the last 4 years. 3 for inappropriate conduct toward black individuals, 2 for threatening excessive force, 1 for disrespectful and misogynistic language while on duty, all of them quietly closed, with no full investigation. But this time was different, very different, because the victim was Judge Monica DeWitt, a woman who not only knew the law, but knew how to make the law work as it should. In her official report to the state prosecutor's office, Judge DeWitt wrote, "I do not ask for privilege, I ask for accountability. If I hadn't been a judge that day, if I had been a mother, a teacher, or just another citizen, what would have happened? This is no longer about me. This is a test for the entire system of justice." The state prosecutor's office agreed. Florida Attorney General Curtis Howard held a public press conference. No officer has the right to destroy private property out of bias or emotion. We are launching a criminal investigation into Officer Kyle Barnes. The charges under review include willful destruction of property, abuse of authority, and violation of civil rights under color of law. At the same time, the media exploded. CNN broadcasted live. Black judge harassed. Property damaged by local officer during traffic stop in Jacksonville. MSNBC asked the bigger question, why was a repeat offender officer still in uniform? Fox News tried to spin a defense, but public opinion had already turned. The hashtag Justice for Judge DeWitt trended nationwide. Civil rights organizations, the National Black Bar Association, and thousands of citizens spoke out. This is the moment for the system to prove it still has integrity. There cannot be two justice systems, one for robes and one for badges. Officer Barnes was placed on administrative suspension. Jacksonville PD issued a vague public statement. "We are cooperating fully with the investigation and awaiting official findings." But inside the department, fractures began to show. Some officers quietly sent apologies to the courthouse. One anonymous letter read, "We've known about his behavior for years, but no one wanted to be the troublemaker on the team. Thank you for standing up." But what terrified Barnes most had yet to happen. 1 week later, he received an official summons. "Kyle Barnes, you are hereby ordered to appear before the Duval County Court on the 14th of this month to hear formal criminal charges." And presiding over the courtroom, interim Chief Judge Monica DeWitt, the very woman he had tried to intimidate. When Barnes received the summons, he slammed it on the table, trembling. She's going to judge me." His private attorney looked him straight in the eye. "No, she's not judging you. She's doing her duty as a guardian of justice. And you better pray that she still holds more fairness in her heart than you ever showed her." Across town, inside her courthouse office, Monica showed no joy, no gloating. She simply sat in silence, signing documents one by one, but her pen pressed harder than usual, because she knew no verdict could erase what was said. But if justice fails to respond, then justice itself becomes a joke. 48 hours after the incident, inside a private meeting room at the Duval County Courthouse, Chief Judge Deborah Miles, Florida Attorney General Curtis Howard, and Judge Monica DeWitt sat around a circular table. On the large screen in front of them played surveillance footage from a neighborhood security camera alongside audio from Monica's phone recording. The exchange between her and Officer Kyle Barnes, the video of him smashing her taillights with a baton, undeniable. "There's no doubt left," Curtis said, his voice heavy. "This was willful property destruction while you were en route to perform a judicial duty." Monica nodded. "I'm not asking for special treatment, but I won't allow this to be buried like so many old case files before it." She gestured to the printed dossier on the table. At the top, Kyle Barnes. Beneath his name, in bold red ink, 6 civil complaints in 4 years, no disciplinary action. Chief Judge Miles exhaled, eyes fixed on the screen. "If we let this slide without decisive action, then we've betrayed everything that Black Robe stands for." Monica didn't reply. She didn't need to. Curtis turned to the final page. "I'll be filing a formal motion for criminal prosecution with the state tomorrow morning. Judge DeWitt, if you agree, I'm also recommending we summon Barnes for a preliminary hearing next week here in county court." "I agree," Monica said without hesitation. "I want this handled transparently, by the law. No drama, no deals." Meanwhile, Jacksonville Police Department, Internal Affairs Office, Kyle Barnes was summoned upstairs. Waiting for him, 2 seasoned investigators and a thick case file already open on the table. "You know why you're here," one of them began. "Your conduct has crossed the legal threshold for what's acceptable under duty." Barnes folded his arms, trying to hold his composure. "I followed protocol. That woman didn't say who she was. I had reasonable suspicion. No one has the right to smash a citizen's car for reasonable suspicion. Officer Barnes, the second investigator said dryly. And if that's your defense, then we're no longer talking about a cop. We're talking about a defendant. The next morning, the official indictment was filed with the court: willful destruction of property, abuse of authority under color of law, racially motivated misconduct filed as an aggravating factor. Within 24 hours, a court summons was issued to Barnes. Location: Courtroom 2, Duval County Courthouse. Presiding Judge Monica DeWitt. When he received the notice, Barnes was stunned. She's the one trying my case. His attorney, a slim, soft-spoken man named Walter Ridge, nodded. She was assigned by random rotation. The appointment is legally valid, but if you wish, I can file a motion requesting her recusal. She's biased, Barnes shouted. She won't be fair. Ridge stared at him a moment, then shook his head. I've read the incident report. She doesn't need to hate you to do her job right. You handed her this case gift-wrapped. At the courthouse, Judge Monica DeWitt received Barnes's formal request for her recusal. She spent the afternoon reviewing legal precedent and ethics rulings. That evening, she issued a short internal memorandum. There is nothing in law that disqualifies a judge from presiding over a case if they can uphold judicial impartiality, especially when procedural assignment was done properly. I will not recuse myself, and I will not let personal feelings obstruct the truth. Justice only works when no one is immune to consequences. Courtroom 2, Duval County Courthouse. Wednesday, 9:00 a.m. The preliminary hearing was declared open to the public, a deliberate decision by Judge Monica DeWitt herself. The courtroom wasn't crowded, no cameras, no reporters, just representatives from the state prosecutor's office, defense counsel, a few independent legal observers, and the defendant, former officer Kyle Barnes. Monica entered the courtroom in her traditional black robe. Her expression was calm, her eyes icy and focused. As she took the bench, her gaze briefly swept the room and paused, for only a second, on the man who once called her fake. No anger, no vengeance, just duty. This is the Duval County Court. Today's preliminary criminal hearing is now in session. The defendant, Kyle Barnes, is charged with the following: willful destruction of private property, abuse of authority under color of law, and civil rights violations with racially motivated aggravation. Attorney General Curtis Howard read the charges aloud with clarity, supported by the following evidence: video footage from a neighborhood security camera showing the baton strikes, crime scene photographs, official property damage report, a sworn statement from Judge DeWitt detailing the incident. Barnes' attorney, Walter Ridge, tried to mount a defense. My client acted under stress, unaware of the victim's identity, and believed his actions were lawful given the situation. Monica said nothing. She didn't interrupt. She simply took notes quietly, deliberately. Then, when called as a witness, Judge DeWitt stepped down from the bench and took the stand. She was no longer the judge. She was now a victim and a witness inside her own courtroom. Under oath, she recounted the entire event. No dramatics, no exaggeration. She had been pulled over without probable cause, profiled based on her skin color and vehicle, spoken to with contempt, and finally watched as the officer smashed both of her taillights with a baton. No warning, no explanation. Defense attorney Ridge asked Judge DeWitt, "Do you believe your status as a judge might have made Officer Barnes feel threatened or cornered?" Monica looked him dead in the eye. "I never told him I was a judge. I answered only when asked to confirm my identity. As for feeling threatened, he was the one with the baton. He was the one with the authority to stop traffic that day." The hearing lasted just under 2 hours. When all testimonies were complete, Monica returned to the bench. Her posture was poised, her presence undeniable. She made no eye contact with the defendant, spoke to neither counsel. She simply raised the gavel. Having reviewed all submitted evidence and testimony, this court finds sufficient legal grounds to proceed with formal criminal prosecution against the defendant, Kyle Barnes, on all 3 charges. A full trial will be scheduled for the 14th of next month. The defendant is granted conditional release under GPS monitoring and is hereby suspended from all law enforcement duties until the resolution of this case. This hearing is now adjourned. The gavel struck. Barnes sat motionless in his seat. No outburst, no denial, His attorney, Ridge, quietly packed his files. No shoulder pat, no comfort offered. Monica walked out of the courtroom, never looking back. But everyone in the room knew she had just done the hardest thing a judge could do: hold someone accountable who once humiliated her, and still deliver justice without an ounce of bias. 1 month after the hearing, the air in the courtroom was heavy, thick like lead. Kyle Barnes, now stripped of his badge and completely cut off from police service, sat quietly at the defense table. White shirt, no uniform, no authority. A tight haircut couldn't hide the anxiety etched across his face. Judge Monica DeWitt, still presiding, sat high at the bench, her expression cold but not cruel. She wasn't there to punish. She was there to uphold the law. The trial proceeded smoothly. The prosecution presented their case methodically. Security camera footage of the baton strikes, a repair estimate valuing the damage at $1 to $48 on-site photographs, a record of unresolved disciplinary complaints, sworn testimonies from eyewitnesses, a delivery driver and a bystander across the street. Then Kyle Barnes took the stand to testify on his own behalf. His voice trembled. The bravado was gone. He said, "I was wrong. I overreacted. I didn't mean for it to be racial. I didn't know she was a judge." The prosecutor leaned in. "And if she wasn't a judge, would your actions have been any more justified?" Barnes said nothing. After final arguments, Judge DeWitt looked down at the case file in front of her. Then she raised her head. Her voice measured each word, echoing through the silent courtroom. "The law does not give anyone the right to use their badge as a weapon for personal emotions. Mr. Kyle Barnes, you abused the power entrusted to you. You acted unlawfully. You caused material damage and violated the dignity of a citizen without just cause. And more seriously, you did so with clear bias, facing a black woman in an old car, making subjective judgments rooted not in law, but in assumption." She paused, did not look at Barnes. She looked straight ahead. "I do not judge you from emotion. I judge you from the law, and the law is clear. Willful property destruction, classified misdemeanor, abuse of authority, breach of professional ethics, racially motivated misconduct, legally recognized aggravating factor." She delivered the sentence. "The defendant, Kyle Barnes, is hereby sentenced to 12 months probation, 100 hours of mandatory community service at a legal aid center, full restitution of damages and legal fees totaling $4,650. Permanent disqualification from working in law enforcement within the state of Florida." Silence. No applause. No outrage. Only silence. The kind that comes when justice has spoken. Kyle Barnes lowered his head. His hand gripped his thigh. Knuckles bone white. His lawyer gave a subtle nod toward the bench. Not in protest, but in acceptance. Judge Monica DeWitt stepped down from the bench slowly. She said nothing. Didn't glance at Barnes. Didn't bask in vindication. Because for her, this wasn't a personal victory. It was a reminder. No one, not even those with guns and badges, is above the law. 2 weeks after the trial, the Jacksonville Police Department issued a new policy. All traffic stops must now be recorded by body-worn cameras. Any officer with more than 2 unresolved complaints will undergo a personnel review. An independent civilian oversight board comprised of citizens, attorneys, and former court officials will now monitor all misconduct claims involving abuse of power. Nowhere in the memo did it mention the name Monica DeWitt, but everyone knew none of it would have happened without her. At the Duval County Courthouse, life went on. Monica still presided over hearings each week, still sat high on the bench, the weight of her black robe draped calmly over her arms, her expression serene. But something had changed. Officers entering the courtroom held their gaze a little lower. Citizens who once entered nervously now nodded, even smiled as if they trusted something had shifted. Young attorneys started mentioning her in internal trainings as a model of composure, discipline, and courage. One quiet Friday, after a minor civil case, a law intern approached as Monica gathered her files. "Judge DeWitt, I just wanted to say, if it had been me in your position, I think I would have gotten angry or walked away." Monica looked at the young woman gently. "Emotion is instinct," she said, "but justice is a choice." That evening, Monica returned to her small home on the west side of town. Her old car had been fully repaired. The taillights now shone bright, but on a shelf near the door sat a small wooden box. Inside it, a broken shard of plastic from the original Taillight placed beside her very first government ID from 30 years ago, not as a reminder of the insult, but as a reminder of the responsibility. Justice isn't an abstract concept. It's defined by what we choose to do, especially when no one's watching. Monica DeWitt's story isn't about one bad cop. It's about how one ordinary person used dignity and knowledge to force a system to do better. She didn't shout. She didn't lash out. She didn't threaten with her title. She simply did what was right, one step at a time, with reason, not rage. And because of that, she made the system look itself in the mirror. Justice doesn't always arrive in noise and fury. Sometimes, it comes in the silence of someone who knows honor cannot be shattered like a taillight.